So, does anyone remember Treasure Planet? Because I do, and I want to rant about it because honestly, it is a crazy movie, and who doesn't love pirates in space? Like, come on. That's a great combo. But before we go any further, what is up, my dudes, and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, what's up? I am One Creative Ginger, and in this house we have incoherent and emotional rants over fictional content, all while just in cosplay. So, like and subscribe if you want to see more of this. So, we start off with a hologram pop-up book that's being read by a young Jim and his mom that tells us about this guy named Captain Flint and his band of pirates plundering treasure from all over the galaxy and how they would just vanish without a trace, and how he was hiding his treasure on like a secret planet that no one knows anything about, right? So we fast forward to Jim, who's now like in his teens, and he's flying around on this hoverboard thing with like a sail. But of course, he gets arrested by cops because he's somewhere he shouldn't be, you know? So of course the cops take Jim back to his mom's inn, and this poor woman, I feel so bad for her, is just so tired and just doesn't know what to do with him anymore. And of course, you know, Jim overhears her venting to her friend Dilbert, and she's talking about how smart and talented he is, but you know, after his father abandoned them, he's just been a mess and hasn't really been doing anything, right? He's just failing at everything, not really applying himself, you know? But then suddenly, just out of nowhere, a ship crashes not too far from the inn, so Jim goes and helps the pilot, whose name is Billy Bones, and he helps him into the inn. But of course, you know, he's just not doing too well, so he just drops dead. And before that, he gives Jim this gold sphere and a warning: beware of the cyborg. So Jim, his mom, and Dilbert end up escaping the inn because that cyborg that Bones was warning him about is there, and he's after the spear and just burns the inn to the ground, you know? So that's not good. So of course they go to Dilbert's home, and Jim is able to just unlock the sphere, and they find out that it's actually a map to Treasure Planet, right? And this whole time everyone just thinks it doesn't exist, you know? It's just a legend that people like to tell, you know? But it's real. So Dilbert ends up getting a ship and a crew, and they head out to find Treasure Planet. And so of course we end up meeting the gorgeous badass Captain Amelia and her partner Mr. Arrow, along with a shady looking crew and a cyborg cook named Silver and his little shape-shifting blob thing named Morph, you know? So of course, you know, Silver knows about the map, and that's why they're on the crew, you know, because he finagled his way into being involved with this, you know. So, you know, they're pretending to be like this reliable, upstanding crew that, you know, definitely is not planning a mutiny of any kind, you know. That's definitely not gonna happen later, right? But Silver ends up getting stuck with Jim, and we get this whole like montage of Silver giving Jim all these things to clean, but then slowly it starts turning into him teaching Jim things, you know, a dad would, while simultaneously showing clips of Jim's like actual dad just not being there, and then like ultimately abandoning his family, you know. Like, it's a cute little montage, but you know, it's sad because we do get to see like how Jim's dad leaving him has like affected him like real bad. Like, according to his mom, it's been bad, but we just really didn't get to see it until this little montage, which was nice, but you know, it's sad. But I love it when just men who are just a little more on like the rugged side, you know, you wouldn't expect them to be like nurturing in any way, and then they just accidentally end up becoming a dad. It's just, oh, it is just the cutest thing ever, and I love to see it. It's just, just the best thing ever. But, of course, Silver's crew ends up noticing that he's got a little soft spot for Jim, and unfortunately, Jim overhears Silver saying that all he cares about is Flint's treasure, and you know, he was making up all those things that he was telling Jim, you know, to get on his good side, you know. He's talking all this shit, you know. And so of course Jim hears that and he's like, oh, that stings, right? Because like he's been abandoned by his dad already, and of course he obviously sees Silver as a father figure as well. So yeah, that's not fun, not fun at all. So of course, the pirates finally start their mutiny, and Jim, Amelia, and Dilbert escape, but they're shot down, and then Amelia ends up injured, so Jim goes in search of shelter, and he ends up meeting Ben, this robot that's missing a part of his memory, and definitely knows something about Flint's treasure and where it is, but he just can't remember, right? So Ben ends up taking them to his home, and Jim has to go back to the actual ship, you know, that's been overtaken by pirates to find the real map, because Morph was pretending to be the map the whole time, right? So, of course, once he gets the map and then comes back down, Silver and the pirates have Amelia and Dilbert hostage, so of course Silver ends up forcing Jim to lead them to where the treasure is. So eventually they find out that the portal that Flynn used to travel the galaxy will get them to the center of the actual treasure planet, because that's where all the treasure is. It's just the only way you can get to it is through that portal, right? So, of course, the planet is booby-trapped, but they don't know it until Jim is able to find Ben's missing memory piece that's, you know, with the treasure, and he tells them about it right before the planet starts to, you know, explode, right? Like, it's starting to self-destruct, so that's not good. So, of course, everyone's able to escape, but Silver just doesn't want to give up the treasure that easily, because, you know, this has been his lifelong thing. That's been his goal the whole time, but he ultimately gives it up when Jim, you know, is in trouble and is about to die, you know, so he chooses Jim over the treasure, which is really sweet. So, you know, obviously they all escape back to the ship, and they end up using the portal to escape the exploding planet right when it's about to explode, and so they make it back to the spaceport that they had ultimately started at, right? Then Jim ends up catching Silver trying to leave, and ultimately helps him because, you know, that's his father figure, right? And, you know, Silver had ended up saving his life, you know, giving up the treasure that he was so obsessed over and was saying that's, like, the only thing he cares about, right? Turns out it's not. So, obviously, he helps him, and Silver ends up leaving Morph with Jim and also giving him a portion of the treasure he was actually able to come away with, because, you know, he wasn't gonna be empty-handed, right? That wasn't gonna happen. So, you know, he tells Jim to use it to rebuild his mom's inn, because, you know, Silver did destroy it earlier on, right? So they end up rebuilding it, and Jim is also able to get his shit together, you know, and he becomes like a little space cadet, and then there's like this cute party, and then that's how it ends. Right? Like, I'm a huge fan of these character designs that they chose for like all these alien species. Like, they were fun. Like, they really like sucked you into the universe. Like, they really helped with like the world building and building like this very diverse, complex galaxy. You know, like they put a lot of, I'm assuming they put a lot of effort into this, because like it's interesting. It makes me go, I wonder what else is out there, right? Like, I don't know, they nail it with the character designs and the world building. Like, that was spot on. They did a really good job with that. And the dialogue, whew. I loved that. They did such a great job. Like, it's just, they had so many great lines in this. It's just, and the banter that all these characters had with each other, like, it's just, they get it. It's so spot on, so fun to listen to, and it just makes you like the characters way more, which is, they're just so interesting to listen to, you know, it's just, And also, like, the music, it just really fits that whole, like, space pirate aesthetic that they're doing, and I love that soundtrack. They just nailed it. And they didn't even have to do a whole lot. Like, the same theme was played quite often, but, like, in different ways, which is nice, because, like, I mean, you don't need like a whole like insane score. You don't need a different thing for every single scene, right? Like it helped that, you know, it had the same, played the same little tune over and over, right? But like in different ways and styles, right? So it's like, I like the way they did that. They didn't have to make it overly complicated to make it sound good and make it fit into the actual movie, which I like. And honestly, like the whole space pirate aesthetic was so cool. Like, I don't know, how many movies or shows have like a pirate ship sailing through space? Like that's such a cool, interesting idea that you just don't see a whole lot, because again, I don't know, the space pirate aesthetic isn't like a thing you see all the time. Like this has such a unique aesthetic to it, which is really cool. But yeah, it's like we need more space pirates. And also like Amelia and Dilbert had to be my favorite characters because they, I mean, both of them just had like the best lines, and the banter that they had with each other was just on point. It was so good. Especially like Dilbert has a really good line where he's like, "Damn it, Jim, I'm not a doctor, except I am, but you know, that's I'm not the right kind. I just sit there and I'm useless," that kind of thing. Oh, that's such a good line. It's just always stuck with me. And it's also definitely a Star Trek reference. Which is always great, let's be real. It was fun. I definitely missed watching this movie because yeah, it's been a hot minute since I've watched it, so I'm glad I did, because man, did it remind me how much I missed watching this movie and watching these characters, because these characters are really fun and just very likable, like all of them are. So if you watched my last video where I shared my thoughts on the newest Batman movie, you would know that I have finally figured out my own personal rating system for each movie and TV show I talk about, because I just haven't had one. So I finally figured it out. So so from a scale of I never want to see anything related to this again to I will talk nonstop about this for the foreseeable ever, right? It's pretty close to the, you know, obsessed side of the spectrum, because while I'm not obsessed with like the characters or the story, Treasure Planet is an extremely fun movie that I can and will rewatch multiple times. I can tell you that. It's a comfort movie for me. I love it so much because it's just so, it's so fun. Like, yeah, I do like the characters, but like not in a like, you know, like they sunk their hooks in, right? Like, you know, Clone Wars or The Bad Batch. Those shows just kind of, right? Now I talk about them nonstop. Clearly. If they hadn't, I wouldn't be bringing them up, right? So but Treasure Planet does get pretty damn close to that obsessive side. But yeah, so that's basically all I have to say about Treasure Planet. If you guys have any thoughts and feelings about this movie, share all that good shit in the comments down below. If you're interested in following me on other social media, I post art and cosplay related content on my Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter, if you'd like to get weird with me. So if you enjoyed this video, why not like, subscribe, and smack that bell if you'd like to see more of my face every Saturday when I post a new video. And don't forget to stay sparkly, my dudes!